Hello, everyone. I'm Anthea Mulakala, and I'm the co-lead of the Asia Foundation's Future Skills Alliance. Today, I want to talk to you about an urgent need, future-proofing skills in the Asia-Pacific region. At the Asia Foundation, we are committed to delivering future skills at scale to underserved communities. We foster collaboration between governments, private companies, and nonprofit organizations, harnessing collective resources to amplify our impact and reach those disproportionately impacted by the digital revolution. One persistent issue we face is the global gender gap in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. In the Asia-Pacific region, this lack of gender equity is most apparent in engineering and information technology education, where only 21% and 29% of tertiary graduates are women. To address this, we have created the STEM ConnectHER program. This initiative supports and empowers young women, fostering diversity and inclusion in STEM through mentoring, learning responses, and a peer-to-peer regional community of women in STEM. Here's how we're making a difference. First, we're investing in the future. STEM ConnectHER prepares young women for careers in critical fields, driving innovation and economic growth. Second, we're bridging the gender gap. We're tackling the underrepresentation of women in STEM, creating a more equitable and diverse workforce. Third, we're nurturing talent. We recognize the immense potential of young women in STEM and provide them with the resources and support to succeed. And we're building a pipeline. STEM ConnectHER inspires and motivates young girls to pursue STEM education and careers, ensuring future generations of women leaders. Join us in our mission to empower women in STEM. Together, we can build a more equitable future. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Arina Dafir, Community Affairs Manager for Microsoft. We're excited to be part of this important initiative because closing the STEM gender gap is a significant step towards a more equitable society. It is our hope that through this program, we help knock down barriers for young women to thrive in a STEM career through access to mentorship, training, and networking. For young women considering a career in STEM, my advice would be keep an open mind. There are multiple pathways to enter, explore, and be successful in this field.
Apurva, you're still on mute. Hi, welcome everyone.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Good morning and good afternoon to everyone joining us from across the globe. We are thrilled to see the participants from various countries. A very warm welcome to the STEM Connector series, a platform built to empower women in STEM fields. Before we begin, I'll just put in some house rules and yeah, so your microphone will be on mute automatically. If you have any problem, if you're not able to see our or if you're not able to hear us or not see our video, please put everything in the chat box. We'll also be taking up questions and answer at the end of the session. So feel free to put in your questions in the Q&A box. And yes, let's begin. I'll pass on to my colleague Nadia Subramaniam, who's the Director of Future Skills Alliance Initiative and the Deputy Director of TAF India Malaysia Office. Over to you, Nadia.
Thank you so much, Apurva, and welcome to everyone. And I just wanted to note, for the first time in quite a while, we have more than 100 of participants at the session today. So welcome everyone. I can see that we have participants from all over the region. So great to welcome everybody. I'm just going to share a little bit, especially if some of you have not joined us for a speaker series before, a little bit about the Asia Foundation, the Future Skills Alliance. The Future Skills Alliance is a collective impact platform where we think about recognizing that there is a digital skilling gap, a digital skilling crisis, in fact, and we're working on closing that gap in terms of making sure that people who are able to access the digital economy can do so in a more inclusive way. So we have several programs within this Future Skills Alliance. We have Accelerate, which is a program focused on supporting women entrepreneurs as they grow their businesses. We have STEM ConnectHER, and I'll share a little bit in detail about it later. But we also have another program called Skills to Work, where we look at professional development and pathways to careers in tech for some of the more underserved communities in our areas. And we work through this Future Skills Alliance. It's a collective impact platform, like I said, and we work with a lot of tech partners, but we also work with academia and government partners. Next. Next. And STEM ConnectHER specifically, as Anthea shared just now in the video, it's about professional development, mentoring, speaker series, peer-to-peer networking things, activities for women. Women so that we can, I mean, almost all of us here perhaps are women in the STEM fields, and thinking about how you can enter the STEM field, thrive, and persist in the STEM field towards your career success. In the last year, we had about 2,800 participants across 50 in-person events and 14 webinars. And we focus our work in countries like Singapore, Malaysia, Korea, India, and Japan. But generally, all our virtual programs are open to anyone who would like to join them, either in this region or across the region too. All right. So in terms of how you can stay connected, well, we've had, thanks, Apurva. How you can stay connected, you can join our network. And with that, I mean, you can join the platform. So signing up for STEM ConnectHER will enable you to get information on activities that might be happening in your region, access to mentors, and also professional development. Let me quickly just put that in the chat. Oops. Yep. All right. So maybe let's go to the slide before this. Over the last couple of months, we've had plenty of webinars, including one on a multi-generational workplace, breaking barriers, talking about a journey in leadership and engineering, and we had a webinar on purpose. What you can do if you join the platform, you can access all the past events, watch all the webinars also. All right. In terms of Apurva, can I have the last slide? Today we've got a very exciting discussion, and I would like to welcome Prof. Geeta to the conversation. And we're going to talk a little bit about how oftentimes in Asia we're doing quite well in terms of increasingly having women take up STEM fields up to the university level. But when we think about kind of retaining women in STEM, there's still a lot that needs to be done. So in addition to all the hard skills and the technical skills that you're learning in university, we also think about the soft skills like confidence in order to kind of make Prof. Geeta will share a little bit about the leaky pipeline, where we're losing women as we kind of grow into later stages of your career. And so things like soft skills like confidence, building resilience is things that we are looking at supporting in order for you to grow in your careers. So thank you so much again for joining us, and back over to you, Apurva.
Thank you so much, Nadia. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our esteemed speaker, Professor Geeta Bhatt. Professor Geeta Bhatt is currently the director of the Non-College Women Educational Board, NC Webb University of Delhi, a pioneering institution established in 1944 to empower and educate women from marginalized backgrounds. She's a renowned scholar with research spanning integrated optics, electronic waste, and gender studies, and has authored and edited several books and research papers. Professor Geeta has received multiple honors, including the Women of Substance Award from Mother Teresa University and the Sashakt Mahila Samman from Bharat Vikas Parishad. She's also a well-known voice on television panels. We are honored to have you with us today, Professor Geeta. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Apurva, for such a generous introduction. And I take this opportunity, first of all, to thank Asia Foundation and especially the country director, India, Nandita Barua, for introducing me to this particular program that is being a wonderful program for women in STEM. And getting this opportunity to address what, as Nadia Subramaniam was also saying, that how it is important that we do not need to isolate our technical skills and our soft skills. They need to be interplayed, and it is very important that our social connect, our technical connect, and whatever we have an understanding of our peer groups, all these play a very important role in defining our future course, professionally as well as an individual. So I take this opportunity. Thank you so much, Nadia Subramaniam and Apurva and Nicole, for connecting me to a large audience from across the world. And I have a brief presentation in front of you, and later on, as I have been told, that there will be Q&A, question and answers, and we can have some observations also from some of the students or researchers who are connected here, or their experiences, what they have been through. So I will share my screen. Okay, so before we move on to talk about the topic for today, I thought that, briefly, we as, women researchers, I myself have been a student of electronics, and I did my PhD in nanosciences, material sciences. It was an experimental work, and I think all the students who are at present in an undergraduate course, or those who are in postgraduate courses, or those who are full-fledged researchers pursuing their PhDs or working as researchers in certain organizations, we do realize that at times all of us have, in some way or the other, been touched by some kind of a bias, where we realize that it is the gender which is responsible in terms of the response that we are getting from the other side. And therefore, it is very important that we need to actually look in terms of that how this whole idea of the kind of constraints and obstacles which are there in the society, why and how it became important for their advancement and empowering of the woman all over the world. And therefore, it is important to just remember that it was the Beijing Declaration in 1995, which was organized, of course, by United Nations, and thousands of women from across the world had gathered there to make a point that it is important that as we move toward the next century, which is this century, the 21st century, it is important that we need to be determined. We should have hope and cooperation and solidarity, so that we can move in the 21st century where women all around the world, they are empowered. I don't know how many of the participants who are present here know about that there is an International Day of Women and Girls in Science, and that is 11th of February 2025. So one aspect which is interesting is that why international days are celebrated. Now, international days have been celebrated for a very, very long time, much before United Nations came into existence. But yes, we can say that United Nations, it has embraced the celebration of international days as a very powerful tool for advocacy. And celebrating any international day, it gives us an opportunity to educate the society, educate the public on issues which we feel are of concern. And also it helps in political mobilization and resource mobilization across the globe, so that whatever cause we are standing for, it can be addressed. And keeping that in mind, it was in 2011 that in one of the meetings in the United Nations, the Commission of the Status of Women discussed and brought to table that access and participation of women in education, in science, and in technology is something that their training, that is something that needs to be advocated, keeping in mind the necessity and importance of science and technology in 21st century. So it was in December 2013 in the General Assembly that a resolution on science, technology, and innovation for development for all was, and special emphasis on equal access to women was endorsed. And 2025 marked the 10th anniversary of this International Day. So this is basically to put everybody in this understanding that it is not something that, STEM as a woman in STEM or girls in STEM is a subject which is just, if you look at it, or the sensitivity towards this subject is just a decade old. So there is a long rope that we have to travel. But nevertheless, there are various initiatives like this initiative where we are sitting here by Asia Foundation, by which this sensitivity and the importance, the significance of this subject is being put across to in institutions, in society in general. So before we look into what is the present scenario, I thought I would try to put forth the story of two women who have, who stood firm on their mettle when it came to pursuing their career in sciences. And since I come from India, so this is about a scientist, woman scientist called Dr. Kamala Sohoni. And she was the first woman to receive a PhD in a scientific discipline in India, which was in 1930s. So she did her graduation from Bombay University in early 1930s, and she was a very brilliant student. She had good support from her household to pursue her ambitions, and she was very good in chemistry. But she wanted to go to one of the most prestigious institutions in India, and also considered so abroad, Indian Institute of Science. So when she reached Bangalore, where this institution is present, and she went to take admission, she was told that she cannot be given admission in this institute. So we are talking about 1930s, at a time where we were not so well connected technologically. And so imagine that a woman lands up in an institution, and the only reason that she's being denied, it is not because of her academic score, but because she is a woman. She was denied admission in Indian Institute of Science. And what is more important to understand is that the person who denied was the director of the Indian Institute of Science, who was none other than the Nobel laureate, Professor C.V. Raman. So Professor C.V. Raman was a great scientist. In fact, India celebrates its National Science Day on February 28th, because that was the day Professor C.V. Raman did his discovery of Raman effect, which was basically about that when light travels through matter, then some of it gets reflected and there is a change in the wavelength. So this is being used for example, in FTIRs and such equipments. A very, very groundbreaking work he did. And another important aspect, he did it in India. And that was a time when we were under colonial rule. So such a great scientist, but when it came to giving admission to a woman who had brilliant scores, he refused her an admission. But she decided that she is going to stage a satyagraha, which is a word in Hindi, but which basically stands for non-violent protest. So she stood for 1 month, she sat in front of his office, saying that she is not going to go back because there is no reason for which she should be denied admission. So ultimately, he relented, gave her a probationary period, that only if her behavior will be good and there will be nothing going wrong in the campus, then only she will be able to pursue her master's. Nevertheless, she did that, and later on, it was Professor Raman only who, recommended her. She went to Cambridge to do her PhD. Her thesis was just for 40 pages, and she did amazing work on a particular kind of an enzyme which is there in plant and animal cells. Or later on, she could have stayed back and done extremely well in United Kingdom, but she decided to come back to India. And we were still a colony at that time, British colony. And later on, she did amazing work, especially for the diet of tribal women and their children. So we have such exemplary women. I mean, it was her sheer will which later on paved way for thousands of women to take admission in Indian Institute of Science and serve science and technology later on. Another such interesting, there are thousands of such inspirations around us. One another important, which I felt would be very impressive for our listeners today, was a Japanese scientist, Dr. Kono Yasui. Dr. Kono Yasui again had a lot of support from her family to pursue her interest in botany. And after she passed out from school, she could not take admission in any university because women were not allowed. And the Ministry of Education was not relenting to admit women because it was felt that women were only meant for they need to be educated for being good wives and good mothers. So, but she did not give up on her subject. She joined one college, a women's college, which had just started with a science degree. She completed that degree in 1902, and later on, she took a teaching assistantship in her own college, and with her personal efforts, she pursued her research. And after a lot of struggle, she was able to, because she was the first woman to produce a paper, a Japanese woman in a Japanese journal, science journal. And when that paper got produced, then people started taking notice of her. And some of the scientists in the imperial universities, since women were not allowed there, and they were not even allowed in the Ivy League universities at that time. In Harvard also, it was in 1911 that was the first woman in field of education was given a postgraduate degree. So ultimately, she went abroad, she did her research, pursued her research there. After the First World War, came back to Japan, again pursued her botanical study of coal in plants and how the carbonization takes place of the plants when it turns into coal. And she published her book on that work. And it was then when her book came that the Tokyo Imperial University gave her a doctoral degree in science, although she was not an official student. So such has been the remarkable stories of women who have been who have stood for science and technology, stood for the passion of pursuing the subject that they love, and made space for others. In fact, Dr. Yasui also, she was very, very vocal in Japan for women to take up science and technology. In fact, she refused to join all women's groups which were being formed for taking forward science and technology among women students. She said that we do not need to isolate women. It has to be an inclusive development. And she took wonderful such initiatives. So these are, we have in almost every country, we have such examples where these remarkable women have taken forward the science and technology out of the gender bias. If in today's scenario, if we try to see what is the status of women in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, this is basically a figure from the World Bank report. And if you see this report, you realize that if I have taken data of some countries, and this report has been prepared because there is not some very well documented data which is available from all the countries. For example, you see there is no report from Japan that what is the with the World Bank, that what is the status of women in terms of graduates in the field of STEM. But if you look at, irrespective of the year where the data has been taken, overall one can see that the enrollment in some of the countries is very good. And for example, Myanmar. In Myanmar, it is a country which has various, it is under a lot of political strife. There is no stable government for a very long time. But if you look at the women who are taking the STEM courses, the number is substantially large. It is much larger than the developed nation. And similarly, in terms of, if you look at Argentina, you can see the bar, the color here, the brown color here, you can see Argentina, you can see Peru, and Canada is about 38.4%. So, and Africa, Algeria is 51.1%. So there are, one can actually see that irrespective of the gender gap that exists in countries, the women who are taking STEM subjects, there is no correlation. There are studies which prove that the gender gap report, if you take the gender gap report of 2023, and if you try to correlate it with the pursuance of STEM subjects by women in those countries, you will find that there is no correlation. Those countries where the gender gap is very less, that is, it is almost 1 or nearing 1, that means that between men and women there is no gap. In terms of the various 14 parameters are there on which they are, such the data is analyzed. There, the subject of STEM has not been taken up in that manner. But those countries which are developing nations, in the developing nations, there are many such countries where the gender gap report, they may not be evaluating them, on a very fine scale, but there are much larger number of women who are participating in taking STEM courses. So in Philippines, for example, the number of STEM students is very, very good. In Myanmar, we can see that the number of STEM students is very good. So this correlation is not there. So the reasons why it is so, that is something that we can discuss in the coming slides. So this is just to give an idea of how the numbers for courses. There are a large number of women who are getting enrolled into higher education. This is the data from India. And if you can see over here, for BTech courses, blue is female data and the mauve color is the male data. For BTech courses, only 29% enrollment is there. 71% male enrollment is there. Now, if you look for Bachelor of Education, here, enrollment of women is 65%. Excuse me. And enrollment of men is just 35%. So this is a Master of Science. Here, enrollment of women is good in comparison to men. So one can see that the women, they comprise around 29.2% of STEM workforce. The number of women who are taking admission in courses and the number of women who, after graduating in the field of STEM, taking up employment opportunity in the field, there is a stark difference. So out of the 146 nations which have been evaluated in the Global Gender Gap Report, it says that 29.2% of STEM workforce is present. But in the non-STEM occupations, women have a very good presence of about 49.3%. This again you can see here. This is a data where we, as a sample, in India, 43% of women enrollment taking place in STEM courses, 57% men taking course. But as they go on pursuing the higher degrees, in science, PhD enrollment is only 3%. In engineering and technology, female participation in PhD for going for higher research is 9%. And for, if you look at an overall in terms of scientists, engineers, technologists, in research development institutions, the presence of women is about 14%. And the UNESCO also says that only 35% of students in higher education worldwide, they are women. So where are things going wrong? Why is it that first women, there are a large number of places where women are not pursuing STEM subjects in their courses, and even if they are pursuing it, they are not able to take it as a career. So one can see that there is this phenomena of leaky pipeline. So this leaky pipeline very well states that in early childhood and in school education, the kind of encouragement that is required for women, or also in terms of the kind of games that girls are encouraged to play in school, or the kind of subjects that they are told to take once they move into higher classes of class 9th and class 10th, that is somewhere there is a gendered bias present, where it is assumed that a larger larger number of girls are going to pursue courses which are related to social sciences, to humanities, or for example food. Even if it is sciences, then only food and nutrition, for example. So a larger number of girls are expected to take food and nutrition, or such type of subjects, or education as a subject. So there are certain conventional subjects which have been even in schools, they have been put forward for girls to take forward in their future career. Second stage is when they are the kind of family responsibilities. Yes, definitely in if we look in Asia Pacific region, since we are culturally family oriented, and family responsibility is something as because motherhood is something nature is bestowed us with motherhood. So because of that, at many times, because of family responsibilities, women are not able to pursue their education. So some are not able to take forward the subject of their choice in school. Some are not able to take it forward in higher education or in tertiary education, because of family responsibilities, or also because of the kind of ecosystem that exists, where there is where they look forward to some assurance, encouragement in taking up technical courses or STEM courses in higher education. There are times when such institutions are not present closer to their residence, and therefore also the pressure from their parents or from their family, because they have to travel a larger distance or stay somewhere in hostel to pursue such type of degree, taking up a STEM degree. So these are also some of the issues because of which, where what is the concern of the family? The family may not be they may not be of the opinion that the girl should not take the STEM subject in her higher education, but it is the safety of their child, it is the safety of their daughter which is actually, it becomes a concern for them, for sending them somewhere outside or to some distance institution. So at many times, large number of girls, they have to drop the choice of their subject because it is not available within the vicinity of somewhere their residence, where they can go up to the college or to the institution and come back home. So there is a leakage which is taking place at every point. First in school, then because of family responsibilities, in higher education, and then in career development. In career development, we see that 1/3 of women at entry level, irrespective of the field that has been chosen, out of three, one woman basically takes entry. And as we try to take our career forward, it is the same time that you are also thinking of starting your family, getting married, and having a child. So at some point or the other, the career development, because there are no flexibilities are not available. Now, the point here is that it is not that the women are asking for any concession. We are not asking for any concession. If we have been assigned a job, we have been employed at a particular organization or an institution. So we are not saying that we should be given a concession in whatever is there in our work order, whatever work that has been assigned to us. But yes, we do look forward for some consideration, because it is important that we as an individual, while we want to take our career forward, at the same time we also, our family life, our domestic life, that also is of importance. So to maintain a balance, in such cases, the company or the institutions, they can come out with some flexi working hours. So no concession, but yes, consideration is something in terms of policy, in terms of having, let us say, having a crèche in the vicinity of the area where the institution resides. So these are the things that need to be looked into. So that is because of which that it happens that large number of women, a large number of women do get into employment in STEM, but they are not able to continue forward. So there is also lack of social capital. That is the kind of social support that we expect would be there for young mothers who want to pursue their careers. So this leak pipeline phenomena, that is something which needs to be fixed if we look forward to having larger participation of women and girls in the field of STEM. Another aspect, of course, is also the gender pay gap. So there are countries in which there is a substantial pay gap between a male and a female employee. Probably this also could be, in some of the countries, this could also be a reason for the leaky pipeline phenomena. In Indonesia, there is almost 23% gender pay gap is there. Malaysia, 11% is there. Thailand is also about 11%. So this gender gap, this isn't just about a woman's issue. It is also an economic challenge for every country. Now today, 21st century, when we are talking of the fourth industrial revolution, where it is technology which has become an integral part of every professional life. At such a time, it is very important, and if we want that countries, especially the developing nations, if they want that their GDP needs to increase, they need to be inclusive in terms of employment, where men and women, they both need to be employed with the same criteria. So today, if as a country we want that our GDP should increase, our labor force participation should increase, it is very important, because it is nearly 50% of the population of the world is women. They are women. So the World Economic Forum, it estimates that if we are going to double the number of women in the technology force by 2027, that means we would be adding 600 billion euros to the global economy. So this is a reason for which larger number of governments, larger number of public institutions, they are coming forward and raising this concern. It is a concern that needs to be addressed. So what could be the stumbling blocks? Now this data is basically just to represent that although in BTech courses the number of women students enrolling is less, but among them also, if you look at the hardcore engineering subjects like mechanical engineering, civil engineering, there the number of girl students is much lesser in comparison to the students in computer science or information technology. So it is the white collar job which is more preferred by women in comparison to a blue collar, for example, for mechanical or civil engineering, I'm saying. Now the stumbling blocks which have been contributing to the gender gap in STEM. So it is the perception of STEM and the stereotypes which are there with it. For example, that if you're going ahead with a degree in mechanical engineering, so you will have to be out of the house at odd hours. So the most important aspect that again comes is the safety of the girl, the safety of the woman. So if the working hours are going to be hard or they are going to be strenuous, where you have to be, you're a mechanical engineering, so you have to be out somewhere, let us say in a factory. If you're a civil engineer, you are making a skyscraper, you're a part of such a team. So you have to be out on the field all the time and in odd hours. So this perception of a STEM as a subject that they are difficult, and women are, or girls, they do not have the intelligence to pursue such subjects. That is something at school level the governments, they need to work at encouraging girls to take science, mathematics as subjects right from school. So that perception also needs to come, and there are a large number of studies which have been done by, for example, by PISA. And again, if you look at those reports, one can see that they basically take a test across the internationally for 15-year-olds to evaluate them in terms of language, in terms of mathematics. So there is no such clear-cut pattern. There are a large number of countries, Asian countries, where the girl students have done wonderfully, and there are some European countries where the girls have not done so well. So this could be liking of a subject also, but at the same time, this let us say a tacit bias which is there for STEM towards girl in schools, that needs to be addressed. The stereotype needs to be addressed. Then again, the social norms for women, that whether they can stay out night late for work, whether that needs to be allowed. Slowly things are changing, but still it's a long way to go. And very importantly, role models. It is very important, and I personally feel that in the universities there should be a course where maybe of just 2 credits, but where it is very important that especially for the STEM students, to know that how their pioneering work have been done by women. Yes, there are times when they were not given the Nobel Prize, that we can keep it for some other day. But it is their kind of work that they have done is exemplary. And therefore, it is very important that we need to put forward such role models from our history and from our present day. For example, in India, in space and technology, we are doing phenomenal work. And our space and technology institutions, they have large number of women scientists who are taking this forward. And when our Chandrayaan was launched at that time, it was such a beautiful scene, seeing in the main hall where the monitoring was going on. There was such large number of women wearing the traditional dress, which is called as sari, beautiful saris, and they were also elated to see the successful launch of Chandrayaan. So such type of role models, they need to be reiterated again and again. And then, of course, there is also an unconscious bias. Unconscious bias is something that is, for example, I recently read an article by a university teacher where she wrote that I was approached by two of my students, one male and female students, for a letter of recommendation since they were applying up for some universities abroad. So she decided that she is going to ask AI that these are the the qualities of my students, and why don't you prepare a letter of recommendation. And she writes in the article that it is she was quite surprised to see that the letter of recommendation which came for the male student was very different from the letter of recommendation which was for the female student, although both of them from the same class and were pursuing the same course. So that bias which is there, it is so all the AI models which are being developed, if there are not going to be women participants in developing these AI models, addressing the writing for the girl student that she is very well spoken, very soft spoken, and has got good credits in subjects, and for the male students the letter which was prepared by the AI saying that having leadership qualities and very good logical and reasoning the student has. So this kind of a bias which was there is something now today when AI is going to and rather has become a part of our day-to-day living. It is important that these kind of unconscious biases which will keep creeping, they need to be noticed and they need to be corrected. Then, of course, the work-life imbalance, that is something which needs to be addressed. For this, the sole responsibility cannot be that of a woman. In 21st century, when both men and women, they go out to work together, so the responsibility of starting a family, raising a family is also equally on both of them. So this kind of an understanding is something which also needs to be, in terms of soft skills, is something that needs to be introduced, and is something which is, so this gender neutrality in these terms, that is something which needs to be introduced in classrooms and in schools, so that when such students, they become adult, they have a better understanding of raising families. Then, of course, for women, STEM education is expensive. Yes, it is expensive. We can say that. But we can see that a large number of courses which are there, which are expensive. In fact, there are, you can say, some caveats in it. For example, in India, there are a large number of girl students who want to go and are encouraged by their family to go and take the medical course and become doctors, medical doctors. But the same kind of enthusiasm or interest is not there for the engineering courses. So it may be there in the situation may be different for different in different countries, but these kind of caveats are also there. And one important aspect is that of the kind of, at times, harassment that a woman face when they are, working in labs. And it may not always be, in physical terms. I remember that at a time when I was pursuing my PhD, my neighboring lab, there was a girl student who was pursuing her PhD, and just because she was not able to get the kind of results which were expected out of her, the experiment that she was running, she was it was being she was being mocked with a gendered approach by her other colleagues, because she was not able to achieve the goals that were set for her during her PhD research work. So it is important, and in this policy decisions by the government and by the institutions for their implementation, ensuring that such committees which exist, they are functional, and they are also accountable. so that if any such cases are there, they can be, they can be addressed and they can be resolved, so that this should not be a reason for women for leaving their research or their courses. So there are various policy initiatives which have been taken by a large number of countries. Briefly, I would like to put forward, because I think my time is running out. And G20 group of 20 countries, in the 2023 summit, which took place in India, there was one very important theme which was taken was women-led development. We have been talking about women entrepreneurship or, empowering women. But this initiative which was taken was to take it one step forward, that the initiatives which are taken, the woman should be in the lead role. And I think that is very important, whether it is in terms of policy making, whether it is being in part of, decision making, being in the parliament of a country as a politician, or leading a research lab. So this woman-led development was, this 5-pillar approach was taken forward during the G20 summit, that we need to expand the funnel at the base. That means it is very important that we need to at the base, the sensitization and the encouragement to take the STEM subjects for girl students is something which is important. Fix the leaky pipeline in professional spaces. Why? What are the causes of these leaky pipelines that we need to, take care of? Support women-led tech entrepreneurship. So provide, let there be, collaborations. Let there be MOUs signed where the financial support, tech support can be given to women entrepreneurs, and especially in the field of technology. Influence the social mindset change, that it is very important. Government bodies can take it forward in terms of putting it on social media, on television, and strengthening the policy and government. And I think Nadia wants to say something.
Hi, I was just perhaps seeing if perhaps we can go into some Q&A first.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Prof, yeah.
Yeah, I can do that. I just
Yes,
1
so,
minute I
yeah.
will take.
Yeah,
So this
please.
is also about the ASEAN group of nations, because we were talking about Asia Pacific. So there also they are taking a lot of policy initiatives are being taken by the ASEAN countries also, in terms of mapping of the gender dimensions, and looking into giving support to the ASEAN university. They already have a university network, how they can give support where women can be encouraged and there is more social inclusion. And since I started with the 11th February 2025 as the International Women's Day Science, in this 11th of February, UNESCO had posed to women scientists, 700 women scientists worldwide, this question: what would change if you're in your field if more women were involved in science? So the 5 key benefits that these women scientists answered are the following: that there will be enhanced creativity and innovation, right? If there are more women in the field of science and technology, the research will be inclusive, there will be better ethical standards, and the working conditions are going to improve a lot if larger women participation is there in science. So we can take it forward. Other points also in the Q&A, Nadia ji.
Thank you so much, Prof, for the sharing. And I think throughout the session, we had a few questions coming in. So maybe I'll highlight a couple of questions, and after that, for those of you that might need to leave early or leave exactly on time, Apurva will soon share the link for the certificate downloading. And so we ask you to fill up a little bit of your feedback for the session today and the sharing that we've had. And once you have filled in your feedback, your certificate will be automatically emailed to you. So just double check that you're putting in the right email address. Thank you so much, Prof. And I think one of the kind of things that we talked about across the thing were these systemic issues in terms of supporting women in STEM. And from the chat, I think some of the questions come down to the individual level too, right? Asking ourselves, in your opinion, perhaps, what are the common gaps employers see when hiring women graduates? And therefore, for the women in our in our participants today, what can they do to address these perhaps biases, perhaps gaps before they enter the job market?
I think the most important aspect is that their professional course, whatever they are
Yeah.
pursuing in terms of STEM, it is very important that their uh, command over the subject
Mm-hmm.
that should be very good, because today employers, and especially after COVID, one has seen that a large number of companies also they in a way encourage work from home. So there are times those who are women who are very well versed with their professional subject. And I think what is important also is at times uh, if some extra work comes to us, at times the employers, they also look into this aspect, which keeps happening with all of us. It happens. So if we are, motivated enough to agree and take up work which comes our way, I think that also gives you an edge.
Mm.
Irrespective of, it's not about a gender bias, but as an employer, when one looks at an employee, someone who is able to work faster, work smarter, is able to take up if there is some extra work, is something which is gets appreciation from the employer. And from the employer side, I think it is important that or those, I mean, for our participants, I mean, women who are take, it is very important that they must check their gender policies. What are the policies of the companies that they are joining?
Maybe I would like to respond to that a little bit and providing another way of thinking about it. I definitely agree that this idea, if you're able to step up, right, that is something great that you can do for your career. But I also think there's a balance there, right? Like that we have to start thinking about whether or not the things that we are constantly being asked to do, whether or not it's useful for your career. I think a lot of times we see in the workforce, especially in the STEM workforce, when it comes to doing something like organizing an event or doing something social, we always look to the woman first. And I do think there is a place to step in and say, yes, I'll do it, but also a kind of a point where you can say, well, I kind of did it the last time. Would it be okay for someone else to do it? Because I would really like to focus on this technical aspect, and what do you think about that, Prof?
Yes, Nadia, I think it's a very relevant question, because that is something which happens a large number of time all around us. And we also experience that. But yes, it is important. I think women should put their foot down and say that for a change, there is some different aspect of the event that is being organized, that, uh, you know, uh, let me take it for you. Give me let's take a try, that I am going to take forward and look at the technical aspect of the event rather than the decorative part of the
Definitely.
event that is being organized. So usually, I mean, setting of the stage, what kind of color it has, color combination of the flowers that has to be placed on the table, that is all something which is left for the woman employees. And all the hardwired work that is being given to the male employees. So it is important that women should be vocal. They should uh, come forward and speak their mind. Uh, for that, we don't have to be forceful, but one should be able to speak up their mind, whatever is there in our mind. If you want to do a particular kind of a job for an event, then it is important, because that also gives you an exposure, and also we are able to evaluate ourselves, that how good we are, when we take up a different type of jobs in a particular program that is being organized.
Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah, it really is that balance between the technical hard skills and the soft skills, the balance between accepting more responsibility and knowing when you should say, set that boundaries. Thank you so much. And just for everyone who's having to leave soon, please scan the QR code to get your certificate. And we have another question, and it is about pivoting your career. And specifically, if someone is thinking about pivoting their career, it says here from science to STEM, but most generally, perhaps, if you're thinking of pivoting your career, what kind of advice would you give someone?
I think one needs to listen to their inner voice.
Mhm.
Whatever you feel that you are, so there are times when I have seen, I mean, my own niece, she pursued an engineering degree, but after doing the engineering degree, she realized that, being chef has always been her first passion. So, and it was not an easy decision because she was a brilliant student, and she scored wonderfully in her engineering degree also, and her family had given her full support. But this, going from being a technical from a course to being a chef, but she decided to take that call and went ahead, and today she's a very, she's very successful in what she has taken. So it is very important to listen to your inner voice, and it's okay to, at times not able to succeed. At least, every failure is actually another step for becoming successful, because there is a lot of learning. If you're not able to succeed, if you have taken certain break in your career, or you have decided to take another course which was not earlier you had pursued, and it may happen that it may not go the way you planned it, but it is still okay. I mean, because these are all, I mean, they are very young girls. They have time with them. They have age with them, and I think it is one should experiment even in
Yeah.
their career. These 1 year, 2 year break, and move forward and see. Maybe you are much better, much doing well in some other profession.
Yeah, yeah, that's an interesting observation. And I think that, with the current situation right now, if you're thinking of making a pivot either from one STEM field to another STEM field, if you're making a pivot from non-STEM to STEM, or in the case of your niece, from STEM to non-STEM, I think right now there is so much information available. There are so many resources that you can, use to begin your own reflection journey, as you shared, Prof, but also to see, test the waters a little bit. If you're thinking of, changing your career, if there are courses that you could do, or if there's a community group that you can join, a network, find a mentor. This is really an opportunity. You can test the waters a little bit, but definitely, as you said, when it's time to take that leap, that self-awareness, taking a little bit of a chance on yourself, you have the time, young ladies, definitely.
Yes. In fact, if I can get a minute to add, I just
Yes.
remembered that there is, you can Google about, there is a toy multimedia company called Goldie Blocks.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a very unique company because it makes toys for girls who want to, encouraging them for taking up science and technology courses, where it is meant for girls to make buildings, to become architect. And it is very interesting that the entrepreneur who started this, an American, Debbie Sterling, she took mechanical engineering and she went to Harvard, and she herself felt that there were many, because she was one of the odd ones out, being a woman. There were very, very few women in her class. And when she went there, she realized, and at many, engineering drawing classes, when she was not able to put it up, as fast as some other, male students, there were some very nasty comments she herself had heard. And then later on, when she started working, she discussed with some other STEM pass outs, girls who were pursuing science and technology, that what they can do for, for this kind of a mindset. Why is it that girls are not encouraged? And what cropped up was that right from childhood, the segregation of toys. And, she herself had only played with only dolls and with kitchen sets. So this came into her mind that maybe she needs to. So she was a working professional. She left her job and she started this multimedia toy company, which is actually meant for encouraging young girls to take up, engineering subjects in future. So it's really, I mean, there are such wonderful examples, people who are pursuing this so that science and technology becomes as popular among girls as it is with men.
Thank you so much, Professor Geeta. And I'm very cognizant that we have run over time. Thank you so much for our participants who have participated today. And one thing I would definitely like to leave you with is this idea that, of course, there are some challenges for women in STEM, but it's also a time for you ladies to take a step back, maybe a moment to reflect that you have come so far, and the opportunities that are available to you in this field are really endless. So thank you so much for joining us, everyone, today. Once again, thank you so much to Prof. Geeta and also to our team, Apurva and Nicole, for facilitating the session. All right, so
so much, Nadia and Apurva and Nicole and all the participants for being so patient with me and listening to me.
Thank you so much. Okay, bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.